Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Hold your horses. Canelo Alvarez, stop taking it to the stupid. Majority of boxing fans want Canelo to drop those belts that he's holding hostage up at 168. But Canelo says, I don't want to. And you know what? People are trying to figure out, how in the hell is Canelo getting away with this? How can this man go so long without defending against Benavidez? And then some fans come to Canelo's defense and they're like, look, there are a lot of fighters out here who aren't defending the belts as often as what fans feel they should. Now, what I'll say is this. We know when it comes to the sanctioning bodies, look, it's all about the dollar bill, yo. And I do think if you take a guy like Canelo, right, and you take a guy like, let's just say Jamel or Jamal, let's say any fighter, right, and you look at, except for like Tyson Fury and them heavyweights, and you have them go and defend their belts. The sanctioning body gets a percentage, right? And whenever those fighters fight, sanctioning body gets some money. But in one Canelo fight, those sanctioning bodies probably make so much more from that one fight than what they make over several fights with these other champions who are defending their belts. Now that's outside them big boys who are making the big money, right? So that could kind of explain why they're like, hey, we don't need to take anything from Canelo. Because now, let's say Benavidez fights Canelo and tranquilizes him, which majority of us feel Benavidez will not just beat Canelo, but he'll tranquilize him, okay? But if Benavidez was to win all those belts, now Benavidez goes out here to fight, the type of payday Benavidez will earn right now, this is just me assuming here, I don't think it'll come nowhere near the kind of money Canelo's making. And I don't know if it ever will, okay? So the bottom line is the sanctioning bodies are going to look out for themselves. And Canelo equals big money, all right? It is what it is. But something else I wanted to point out, because when we talk about Canelo, why haven't they stripped him? Why haven't they taken those belts? I'm going to tell you, I personally think they should at least force the man to fight, you know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of crazy. And I think any fighter who has a belt, if they're mandatory, you don't fight him. And if the mandatory doesn't want to fight him, then take him from the mandatory position and go to the number 2 guy. Or if it's number 1 or number 2 is vacant, whoever's next in line, bubble them up, okay? Because if a person doesn't want to fight, they need to go, in my opinion. They get rid of him. But I wanted to show you something because I asked a question, right? I did a YouTube short and I asked a question. And I basically was like, hey, let me find it. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on. Let me do this. I was basically asking the question like, hey, why'd they take take Charlo's belt, take damn, where is it? Maybe I'll put it all the way down here. No? I'm going to show y'all something. But I was asking the question, why aren't they taking Canelo's belt? They took Crawford's belt. They took Charlo's belt. And I was like, what's the story? What's what's the problem? And there's some people who chimed in and gave their opinion. And I was very surprised at the opinions that they provided. Let's see here. Okay, here it goes. Okay, right here. So yeah, I think this is the one. I'm gonna show you what happened here. Canelo hasn't fought his man. Hold on a second. Where are the comments? All right. So this got a little bit interesting to me. at the responses. So I'm gonna show you something here. Okay. Let me see. While it's loading. Canelo hasn't fought his mandatory, Benavidez, but Crawford gets stripped. Jamel gets stripped. But Canelo can play golf, ride horses in his living room, and get drunk, right? But they won't strip him. What's the deal? Canelo. Okay, so I'm gonna play it again. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see the comments. It's the comments that kind of blew me away a little bit. So I asked the question. Play it again now, right? Canelo hasn't fought his mandatory, Benavidez, but Crawford gets stripped. Jamel gets stripped. But Canelo can play golf, ride horses in his living room, and get drunk, right? But they won't strip him. What's the deal? Okay, so I was just asking what's the deal. And some of the comments came back as, it's the money the sanctioning bodies benefit on. I'm not a Canelo fan. The dude is good, but release the belts. Do what the hell you want. You're 100% right. Okay, the Charlo twins didn't defend their titles for like 3 years. They weren't stripped. Also, the fighters you have mentioned on not elite status of Canelo or Floyd. And then he likes his comment. And then this person said he's a superstar and generates stupid money, right? So no problem there. But then somebody says Canelo's keeping his belts basically because of racism. And I'm like, okay. So I saw that there were a few comments on that in particular post. We will fight. Canelo hasn't fought his mandatory, Benavidez, but Crawford. Nobody want to hear me anymore. So this person, let me hit this. Let me just drag this up for you. Okay. So what happens is a person goes, yes, Canelo is the man. Those other fighters aren't. And how long did Charlo had championed for and didn't fight anyone? And this person says Canelo got beat by an old Floyd Mayweather and he hasn't done ish lately himself. Racism. And this person says, how is it racism, clown, when Charlo was inactive for a long time and still had a belt? So with me, now look, I'm open to any conversation. But obviously some people feel that Canelo's allowed to do what he wants. And because, it looks like because of his race. And Terrence Crawford and Jamel Charlo weren't allowed to keep their belts because of their race. Do people really agree with that? Because obviously there's some people who feel that way. But my thing is, why? Like, it has to be something specific. You got to be able to justify saying stuff like that. What is it that has happened that has seemed to be so unfair? Now, with me, I'm gonna tell you, I do think the secret society is in full effect, and I do believe if Jamel or Terrence Crawford generated the kind of money that Canelo generates, I do think there'd be a little more flexibility with how the secret society deals with them. And that's just how it goes. Do I agree with it? No. Do I understand? Of course. And if I can at least understand what you're trying to do, we can roll. There's a lot of fighters, man, who have been in positions where they generate a lot of money. And you know what, man? When you get to that point in anything, any career, there's some privileges that come with it. I'm not saying I agree, but I understand. I was in that position at one time. Matter of fact, I turned down a job opportunity today because I don't want to really go into an office anymore. But I turned down an opportunity. Money was okay, but I don't want to do that. But again, it comes back to having privileges when you get to a certain point in your career. But what I will say is this: when a person, this is the thing, when it's not clearly communicated why certain decisions are being made, and you leave a person there trying to figure things out on their own, you know what? They are going to think shit like that. They're going to, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe because I'm a woman, maybe because I'm a man, maybe because I'm white, black, biracial, Chinese, because I speak a different language, maybe it's the religion, political affiliation. A person's mind goes crazy. That's why when you see the inconsistencies with these sanctioning bodies, because the secret society is in full effect, yeah, that shit messes with a person, and it messes with fans. Okay, so as far as someone saying it's racism, I'm not going to tell him he's wrong for feeling that way. Okay, if someone's saying it's not, I'm not going to say they're wrong for feeling that way. What I'm going to say is the inconsistencies and poor communication and poor explanations on why decisions are being made or are not being made, that affects people. And when they can't close the loop on things, right, it forces them to make an assumption. It forces them to try to figure things out on their own. And when there's just not enough data there, a lot of times what you see them concluding is inconclusive. And you can't fault them for that, because now they're making a decision without enough data, right? So until they fill that void, there's always going to be what I'm going to say extreme conclusion drawing that takes place. Now, that being said, as far as Canelo, I do think, drop the goddamn belts. When you take a look at, this is what Canelo's doing right now. And I get it, he can do what he wants, I understand. But this is the problem with Canelito. My boy is here at 168. Look, he don't want to fight Benavidez. Well, goddamn, just give up the belts. You don't want to defend against all these mandatories. You want to pick and choose. Benavidez is next. Benavidez is next. Fight Benavidez. You know, you want to go fight Jamal, you know, whatever. He's bubbling up. He's a champion. I get it. I understand all that. But fight Benavidez. But if you don't want to do it, you know, let Pacheco get busy. Let Munguia and Pacheco fight for a title. You know, let's scroll down here a little bit. Let Mbili and Bazignan fight. You know what I mean? Let Skull and Shishkin fight. Let these guys start mixing it up. Let Berlanga get an opportunity here. You know, let everybody start to mix it up. Caleb Plant is still bubbling. You know, let these guys start to get back in the mix, man. You know, they got all these guys here at 168 pounds who aren't getting opportunities because Canelo's holding up the division. This is kind of like what Spence and Crawford did when they were basically those two held all the belts, and everybody's kind of waiting to see what the hell they're going to do. And you know what? The funny thing is it has a trickling effect, because now when you look at 160, you got guys at 160 who would probably be interested in bubbling up for an opportunity at 168. But, you know, they can't do it. But down at 160, you know, the division stagnated because Jamal now, who still has that title, he's bubbling up to 168. So, you know, Adamus and Nursultanov and Eubank Jr. and everybody else, they don't get an opportunity at that title. You know, Lara is about to fight somebody. I just saw that. Arizona Lara is about to fight. Alim Kanuli is trying to fight people, but they seem to be afraid of fighting him. Chris Eubank Jr. wants to smoke, but his team doesn't. So it has a trickle-down effect, and everybody starts to get affected when you got a big dog up at the top who's holding all the titles, and you're pulling guys from the lower weight divisions up to fight you. And now it's stagnation. And I can only imagine how those fighters feel. It's frustrating. So the bottom line is Canelo's not just affecting one division. He's affecting a lot of people. Drop the belts. No one's going to fault you for it. And fight who you want. Canelo's still going to make a lot of money. He's still going to make a lot of money. He doesn't need those belts. Canelo is Canelo. But he doesn't want to, because he doesn't like to be forced to do anything. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, we'll just have to wait and see, you know, how it goes. And for those saying Canelo's not cherry picking, yes, he is. I'm not saying Canelo's not a bad boy, but Canelo, that's a whole nother video. Canelo and Devin Haney, they're pretty selective about who they choose to get in that ring with. And I don't fault them. Get your money, be smart, keep winning, and every now and then challenge yourself to kind of quell the naysayers. That way they can't say nothing. Because Canelo didn't have to go fight Bivol. He went up there and tried it. Didn't get the Kovalev result he was looking for against Bivol. Bivol had other plans, and Canelo's gone back to doing, what Canelo wants to do. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veteran 7 continents. Y'all, I'm in the breeze.